Some music. What's up, y'all? See what we got going on here. All right, good morning. We're back at it. Another beautiful opportunity to make a little bit of money, get a little bit better at the same time. I will be eating on stream. I apologize. I got a lot going on. Been a long morning. Hold up. Chew this apple, guys. It's been a long morning for me already. But early in the markets, if you've been around at all, you know that this level here, 22,814, it's a low I called on Friday. Swept that. Very nice doji candle. This is platinum. Wrong chart. Nice little doji after sweeping this low here. All right, we swept these lows, both charts, and we're coming back up here. So this isn't a real long. I did take a real long. This is just the paper account, but I just wanted to see what the P&L would be on this. But I did take a real long down here at the 814 level that I'm just holding, in addition to the paper long. And yes, just came to this previous level, 63.30. Let me see a second here, guys. I need to actually think about this trade. We're about 50% retraced on this. I want to see if we finish traversing this shelf all the way up to 23,284. Okay. I am up. Let me see how much I'm up. Actually, I look at my phone. I'm up at least 400 points. Yeah, I'm up a lot. Nice little long in the morning. I mean, one of the easiest trades you could have taken. You obviously would have had to have had some prep time. This is why prepping on the weekends is important. If you just show up to the market at 9:30 on Monday, it'll be too late, right? So spending time on Saturday to think about what your move is going to be in settlement, super duper important. The market opens at 6 p.m. Sunday open. The meta, as I've said in the past few, weeks of streams, is settlement into Monday is a mover, right? That's just been the market meta, right? A lot of the weekly candle is formed in the first 12 hours of the market being open. Not even the 24, the first 12 hours of the market being open is where a lot of the weekly candles getting formed. So if you're not taking the time to actually evaluate and understand that, you're going to miss a lot of this, okay? And you can see here that we've had, 400 points. 400 points in this one session. Let's check the VIX. So I know someone asked about the VIX. Can't remember who it was. VIX is coming off, right? Market's going up. There's that inverse correlation. In general, with the volume profile and the VIX, and I'll do a whole video on this. I would actually just ignore the volume profile for a second and just think VIX volatility and ATR, right, or average trading range. As the VIX goes lower, the days will get smaller in terms of the expected range. Can I make my charts a little bigger? Sure. Let me see how big they are. Let me change the size of me. Hold on, y'all. Do one of those. And let me get my trading view chart. Make it a little bigger. Hold up. How was that? Hopefully better. Divine OG trade. Y'all really Conquistador, Searchlight HQ, Quad, Carbs, Sony. What's up, y'all? Good morning. Welcome back to the best place on the internet, to the IG family. Good morning. Come check me out on YouTube, Trading with Forrest. Same name. But yeah, just think having an appropriate. Also, I got a new chair, guys. Check out the new chair. Finally got a Secret Labs chair. My old Herman Miller was literally falling apart. So that was a good $600. Made that back, then some this morning already. Dallin, good morning. BD Trader, what's good? Welcome back. Think of the VIX. The VIX is your barometer on the day, right? It's how you're basically going to manage your expectation on any individual session. Big VIX, big expectations. Small VIX, small expectations. Okay. Still no giveaway. Been 2 weeks. Did you win a previous one? I've been doing them every week. I literally just sent an email this morning to see what the heck is going on with the guy who manages that, though, because I did get an email. Okay, right. So that makes 2 people then. Yeah, I followed up with them. I think that they have a lot going on. So the initial arrangement is that I would just send them the winners and they would just do it. But I think I need to be a little bit more hands-on. So apologize, guys. I'm working on it. Unfortunately, I can't provision the accounts. Okay, I just am allowed to do the giveaways. On the price, oh, on one last Friday during your live session. Yeah, okay. So there's a few people. I'm on it. I think a lot more partners are doing weekly giveaways after seeing that I was doing them. Or not, I think. I know for a fact that's happening, actually. So I think everybody wanted in on it, and it's become a bit of a chore for them. So I apologize. We'll get it done. I'll see if I can work with them to come up with a system that's maybe a little easier than, email, because, have some empathy for the person on the other side. They're probably just getting a bunch of emails on a bunch of different days from different people about whatever getaway every person's doing. So I'm sure like managing that is just absolute hell. So give them a little bit of grace here. I'll work on it after the stream. Let me put that on my to-dos for today. It's going to follow up again in the afternoon. But let's actually talk about the market for a second. So we need to go to ES on the daily, right? So let's get our bearings first and foremost. You should have done this already, okay? ES, there's a very clear node right here, right, that we traversed lower. Coincidentally, okay, let's just go back here. If we're looking at the market and we're trying to figure out, we got to go to the 24-hour. This won't load. So we'll let the visible range volume profile load. We're trying to figure out where the market's going to go. So there's this here. There is this other node down here, right? So we've got this low and this low. Both of these should be your targets, guys. There's a daily low right there. There's a daily low right here. Okay, both of these are pivots in the market. We've got this auction to traverse and this auction to traverse. So I'm looking for a low with confluence with a shelf, perhaps this one, okay, that the market will go to. So let's see what happened. Okay, and look, we came down and we traversed down to the second orange line. Okay, cracked this. VIX was popping up during this session, traversed this auction. This is filled in a little bit more. You can see we swept this low, and that became our long target, right? Still in an uptrend. We've got this trend line. This trend line is still in play, by the way, so we could come lower. We're kind of in a weird area. This was a good long, right? Obviously, I took this long because of the confluence, right? So let's go ahead and write this down, okay? Confluence with technicals and auction is key, okay? Really simple. I'm certainly not the first person to talk about confluence in trading, and I won't be the last. Okay, but as it comes to trading VPE and volume edges, you're like, Forrest, how do you know to take a long here versus the trend line? Well, the trend line is kind of right now, just with the timing, right? If you could imagine sliding this over a little bit, I'd be more likely to wait for the trend line. The trend line right now is kind of in no man's land. Okay, it's a low value area here. So if it ripped into this low value, honestly, it would crack this trend line and probably go to this node down here, this shelf, this auction. Instead, it respected it, and maybe it'll come up, we'll do another cycle, and we'll tap the trend line right around here, right on the 14th. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, we could just come back to all-time highs at this point. So that's where we're sitting in the market. The meta right now, okay, I'm going to write this down for you. The meta is Sunday open into Monday RTH is still forming, let's say, a large part of our weekly. Okay, so expect this until the market says otherwise. I should sound like a broken record on this because I say it all the time. I do not change my trading style until the market tells me otherwise. That means, and there's this implied thing there, that a strategy will win, it will win, it will win, it will win, it will win, and then it will lose. Okay, so that freaks some of y'all out. You're like, Force, what if today is the day it doesn't work? That's okay. All right. I try to keep my trading as simple as possible. I do not try to preempt every single zig and zag in the market, because from an expected value perspective, it does not matter, right? I trade as mathematically as possible. Okay, obviously it's highly subjective. I do not care about losing money, guys, if I want money 9 days in a row, okay? So until the market tells me otherwise, we're still in an overall higher time frame macro uptrend, okay? Keep that a key. Now, we do have our first early signs, right? This is the weekly candle right here. High volume down candle on the weekly after sweeping all-time highs. So this week is very important, okay? If this remains an outlier high volume candle, we're probably going to get a follow-on lower. If we get an equal volume, or this week's volume eats up this previous week's volume, then this is going to be a flag for higher. And we're going to go a lot higher. We're going to go about, let's just say, 688 points higher from here. Will put us right around, let's just call it 69.15. Okay, that'll be our measure move higher on the macro. Otherwise, we'll enter into a nice down cycle here into the fall. Okay, and we'll probably come out and attack this gap. Okay, 57.87. So that's what I'm thinking on the macro. Okay, I really want to see how this week plays out. If you have trouble waiting for a week to play out, well, go learn patience. SMK Prabhu, welcome back. Welcome to the party. See, NQ came up to this previous level here, 284. And I might actually think I'm going to take this long off here. We'll go ahead and take this one off here. I'll take off my real trade as well. Sorry, hold up, yeah. Hold on, guys. I have to send a message to my team. What should I say to this person? Okay. is the folder name. Cool. So we came up pretty close to traversing this entire shelf here, 23,284. I mean, that was a disgusting trade for me, guys. I'm totally cool with capturing that. If it keeps grinding higher, right, just a little bit higher, that's okay. I'll get back in, but for the morning, 400 points in the morning, I'll take it. Take those all day. I'm up a couple thousand points in like a few days. Pretty ridiculous. Paolo, what's good, bro? Welcome back. From what you have seen, how far back in time is volume at price relevant? Forever. So there's a few questions that you're probably asking, like, well, we know that contracts roll over, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? There's all these things where you might think it doesn't matter. We don't really know where people are positioned and on what time frames, right? With Thukumar, what's up? Welcome back. Take a risk. Welcome back. We don't really know how people are positioned. Also, I'm deciding how deep I want to go with this. I need to actually eat these eggs. Hold on, guys. Let me think about this. 1 second. 1 second, guys. You guys can't hear my Spotify, can you? Can you hear it now? I don't see the sound coming through. It's so weird that I need to figure that out. It's working last time, now it's not working. Let's go way far back in time. Let's go to the monthly on ES. And let's just look at the volume profile. Get rid of some of these random boxes here. Okay. So on the monthly chart, you can imagine this is the continuous. Wow. The question is, how reliable is the volume profile going back years, months and years, right? In my mind, extremely reliable. We had a really good example of this off of this weekly bounce here on both ES and NQ, actually. So we'll let this load. So look at the volume that existed historically at these prices. This example basically, it's good that it's recent too, proves why we can't think too hard about rollovers and things like that. And also we don't necessarily know, we can't look beyond the fact. What we do know is that people are positioned here, right? That's all we know, right? It's the simplest way to think about it. We know for a fact that there's a huge amount of volume at these prices. The market came down to these prices. It actually traversed this node a little bit here. You can see it actually traversed this upper shelf and bounced out of it aggressively, right? So we touched this node just like we would on, the hourly or something like that. We bounced out of it, right, on the weekly time frame. That's all we know. These could be large hedge funds. These could be, the banks, central banks. We have no idea, right? This could be retail. All of that is intermixed in here. We just know that there's a huge amount of volume at these set of prices. The market came and it seeked out liquidity and it bounced higher. So it works across all time frames, and the reason I know it works is because I use it on all time frames. Until that becomes untrue, I'm not going to look too deeply into the point of why, right? I could tell you why, and it's that I think that these people are just positioned here, right? People are literally positioned here, right? The indexes, ES and NQ futures, are indices tracking, the S&P 500. One is more weighted in tech. If we actually think about a stock, right? Let's just go look at Apple, same time frame. I should have taken this long on Apple. Holy crap! Apple's just in this channel. This is like free money, by the way, guys. FYI. If we look at Apple, like, it's a little bit simpler if you just think of a stock. Like, people 100% are in Apple at this price, right? And at this price, and at this price, and at this price, and at this price, and they're just holding, right? Or accumulating their position, or maybe they're blowing up, right? And just like on the lower time frames, they have to react if they get trapped, or they're going to react if they're super green, or they're going to react if it comes back to their entry, just like you would on any time frame. So I treat every single time frame the same, right? There is a ton of nuance and things like that you can read into, but in terms of just like looking at the charts, taking a trade, looking for a signal, yeah, it's the same. The larger the time frame that you go to, there's some things that you can keep in mind, like the fact that this has an upward bias for sure. The market has an upwards bias, right? If you think about why that is, it's because more people get born, more people buy goods, right? The indices track the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is, the 500 largest companies, which, while it is a managed 500, typically those companies are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, right? And let's go back to the same example, Apple. Okay, they crank out more and more phones every year, keeps going up. Very simple. All right, let's go down to the 4 hour. Should have just closed here. Got a high volume up candle. POC is lower. We got a little node forming here. I'm going to relax for now. This could go higher. I just closed a 400-point long, guys. So, I mean, I'm not really looking for much else today, I'll tell you that. Did I enter that long Friday or Sunday? This one was yesterday. So Sunday, settlement open. Settlement open. I was sitting at my desk about 4 o'clock, and I was like, oh yeah, the market's going to open in 2 hours. I was working on 4spot. Adding some real-time charts to my option analysis tool that I use. Nice little long. So Sunday. Yesterday is Sunday. FYI. Look how both of these just went to, yes, lines are a little bit off. Don't need that one. Again, this long sweep, we traversed the node and we had a prior day low sweep, right? The prior day in this case was, July 14th, but it's literally just the trade I called out on Friday. It's just the same trade, same rotation, right? We came down, swept this prior day low, traversed the auction, easy peasy. Your video where we talk about paying attention to the value of nodes being built on the SVP and price hovering above it was extremely helpful this morning. Yep. Let's actually break that down. We'll go to a super low time frame just for this example. So one of the only reasons I'll go to the 15 nowadays is for this purpose. But it's not even really necessary unless you honestly getting late into something, or if you want early signal on whether something can reverse or continue. So one of the things that you have to look for when the market is moving aggressively and you're thinking, is it going to revert or is it going to continue? Is it going to revert, right? Or is it going to just crack and continue higher? Is we want to pay attention to relative to the volume at prices, where is the bid ask and where is it favoring? Okay, so if we imagine that there's a node right here, there's a set of prices these people are competing around. We're either going to get a few candles, let's just talk in terms of candles. We're going to get some top wick candles that close red, right? So the price is going to come down in the set of candles, right? So I'll have a set of candles that are favor red, or we'll have a set of candles that favor up, right? It's the simplest way to think about it. But even as these candles are forming, and this is more of a price action thing, I really don't like to talk about it, but it is something that I know and do. I pay attention to how these candles form at these edges, right? So the easiest way to do this is just actually look at the candles themselves as they've formed and say, okay, well, we're pushing higher. There's a node right here. Is this auction supporting the price, or are we actually just ranging across it fully, right? More likely going to mean revert. And then you also need to pay attention to, right? There's a high right here. Do the candles keep forming new highs? Okay. Or do we get a high and then maybe one high, then a low, and then a low, and then a low? Okay. It's really important. If you look at flagging patterns in general, I don't have any ready. The narrative of how these form is really important. It's really, really important. So the value of journaling right now, this is a pretty good example. This is leaning a little bit higher, but we need to see if we take out this high. There's also the actual line that I drew, 23,284, right? That's that shelf. But if this node continues to hold, then yeah, this could just rip all the way higher. I'll hold my 400 for now. If we get continuation, I'll just get back in. I could see us doing another 100 points on the day. Are we going to do this entire range on the day? Absolutely not. We're not going to have a 1,000-point up day. And if we do, well, then I got 400 of it, and I'll take my money. Let's get off the lowers, though. I don't want you guys to think that that is a good idea. The easiest way to trade is to just think on the weekly time frame, the weekly narrative. Ask yourself, what makes sense for this weekly candle? Okay, what makes sense for this daily candle today? Okay, if you think about what makes sense for the day, you won't go and do something stupid, which is literally why most people make money. A lot of people that I've seen actually have some decent trade ideas. Some don't, right? Very new people don't have good trade ideas. It's honestly, it's like after you exhaust your good trade ideas, you just start doing something that's stupid. So a lot of trading is just like, maybe I should do nothing. And I should ask myself, is what I'm doing stupid? Would a smart person look at the decision I'm about to make and go, you know what? You should long the highs. You know what I mean? So just something to think about as you continue to develop as a trader. Wait, Spotify is playing. Can you guys hear that now? How come you only use the visible range for volume area profile and not a fixed range with larger range of historical volume at price? Preference, really. I'll tell you why I don't like using fixed range volume profile, and I've never used. I use it a little bit. It really is just preference. I like to always have an active decision about what set of prices I'm looking at, right? So I could go back on the monthly, for example, and have some like higher time frame, visible range VP starting from this point in time that I'm always referencing. I specifically don't like to do that. That's just me. I like to always be thinking about what I'm looking at. I don't necessarily like to leave things on my screen that I'm using if I haven't decided that it applies right now. Right? So it's just a stylistic choice, but I like to be very, very pointed with the things that are on my screen at any given point in time. That's why you'll see me delete lines like, you should not be worried about deleting. I'm gonna leave that one actually. That's my measure move higher. But in general, like any lines that you have on the chart, like you should be able to delete, right? I know I had a line right up in this node somewhere, okay? So I know that this is a shelf that we're traversing, right? So this is an area. Makes sense why once we got to this price on both of these charts, right, it starts respecting them. There's also the previous trend line here. I'm not a fan of just having stuff on my charts for a long period of time. Because I trade the market, I should arrive at similar price areas, over and over again, honestly. I'm actually curious why. I had this price in the first place. Oh, this was a projection I did on the down move. That's why. Anyways. How would you rate the 8 EMA continuation here? I don't know. I don't have the EMAs on. I can tell you right now that the EMA probably, without even having it on my charts, probably looks like this. Right? So we're probably moving away from it a bit. I know that because the price is very vertical, which means we're due for a down candle to go higher. I don't use it anymore. It doesn't make my trading better. It makes my trading different, but it doesn't make it better. It's just more information. It's useful. We used to talk about it a lot. So if you use like the EMA in a continuation trade, right, you can support it with the VP, right? So the bottom of this shelf here, if we zoom in, okay, You'll notice the EMA is often where it bounces. The market's going to lag a bit until the EMA catches up with the bottom of a node, and then it's going to come and test the bottom of that node and the EMA at the same time. And I saw that so many times where I was just like, why do I even need the EMA? I know the market's going to make a wave. I know it's going to consolidate. The EMA is going to catch up, but it's going to bounce. It's going to traverse this node. So I'm just so in tune with the VP that I just, personally don't need anything else. It is useful though. Like if I wanted to snipe a price, the EMA can give you a line for entries, which is useful, right? It could be useful to have that line as an entry. The inverse can become true though, right? Is when you're making these big trades, every line becomes a decision. Sometimes not having anything there will change your entire perspective, right? Like right now there's a line right here, but it's like, what happens if there was just no lines? It's like, now it seems like there's nothing blocking this price from going higher, right? So trading is all it's literally 100,000% psychology. So you really need to think about how you're thinking. Say it again, you need to think about how you're thinking. Every thought that goes through your brain, you need to be like, why did I think that? Why do I think that's good? Why do I think that's bad? Why do I have Forrest said this, why do I feel some way about it? Why do I feel excited about it? Right? Actually think about it. Do you use standard deviation for targets? Yes and no. So technically, if you think about a D-shaped volume profile, it's just a normal distribution, right? I'm gonna do this terribly. Okay, it's a normal distribution, right? And the VAL and the VAH are one standard deviation, right? Is the value very low, very high, plus 2%, right? So one standard deviation is typically 68% of whatever your population is. I have mine set at 70%. It's just the default. It's fine. This is important though, because whenever you're in the tail, right? You're literally in the outlier of the population. If price starts to hold there, that's why I pay a lot of attention when price starts to hold outside of VAL and VAH, right? Because it means that this magnet isn't being respected, right? There's a change, literally in supply and demand. It's one way to think about it. In terms of like fibs or things, like, well, I look at like I'm gonna go 2 standard deviations higher for a trade. Nah, I just look at where the next liquidity is. Like, if we go higher, like there's a chunk of liquidity right there. Boom. Real easy. It's either gonna go to the front of it or it's gonna go to the back of it, right? Easy peasy. Does volume profile and market profile have similarities or not? What do you mean by market profile? Go ahead, like the stream though, guys, by the way. If you don't mind, help a brother out. Trying to grow this thing. Check out the Discord, by the way. We have me, Soul, W Dog, Alan. 4 trade coaches now in the Discord. Check it out. We hang out in there all day. So even when I'm not on stream, if you want to chat with me, chat with Soul, chat with Alan, chat with W Dog, all great traders. Join the Discord. TPO bell curve profile. I'll have to look into that one. Market profile measures time spent at each price level during trading sessions. Time is primary, organized data by time periods. Bell curve like distribution using letters, blocks to represent time periods. Interesting. I haven't used it. I would have to see how important that is. I mean, if we think about what volume profile tells us, right? In terms of time at a price, we can kind of see how much time is spent at a price via the candlesticks, right? For example, I know that this was, 4 hours of time was spent in these set of prices, and we could do that in buckets, create a histogram for each price. The reason I like volume profile is it tells me how important each price was in terms of actual decisions being made by traders. So what we can't see here, right? So we can see volume across time here at the bottom, but I can't see how much of the volume is at 22,929, right? That's what the volume profile tells me, and that's important because as an auction market theory trader, what's fundamental to how I trade is the idea, for example, that there are people who are trapped here, okay? And that's why we react here, right? So people who sold here, as we come back to them, there's going to be buy-side aggressors. That buy-side aggression, as well as people looking for a good opportunity, all of that's going to coalesce and give us this nice little pop that we had here, right? So that's why I care about it. I don't honestly care too much about time spent at a price unless there's volume at that price. So I can't anticipate that I would use it, to be honest, because volume profile is actually answering the most important question of like which prices matter in terms of people's positioning. Quad is out of his long 2 M&Q, $220. Nice. Good job. Not a bad trade there. Platinum is pushing higher. Parvati, what's up? Can I get an MFF account today? Actually, paid last Friday, start today. I'm gonna follow up with them. I sent them an email at, let me see, guys. I literally sent them one this morning. And I'll follow up again with them to see what is going on. I'll call my boy Luke, see what's going on over there. Nice little morning trade. Starting late. Good stuff, man. Okay. Fortunately, because I do mean fortunately, I'm very blessed to have the problems that I have. And you guys should be too, right? I want to wrap this up. I got to go run my business. Got some important calls, stuff to get done today. So here's what you guys need to keep in mind for the rest of the day. We just had a 445 point move since settlement open. Okay. I want you to ask yourself, I want you to sit down, look yourself in the mirror, in your mental mirror, and say, what are the odds that we have an 800 point day? Okay. It's not zero. It's probably not 50-50 though either. Okay. It's closer to zero than it is 50%. So you need to manage your expectations. If you miss this and this is where you're longing, you're not doing it right. Even if the trade works out in your favor, guys, this is really important. If you trade like that in general, you will lose money overall versus, right, having a trading style where you lose money sometimes and you make money overall. Okay, if you didn't long down here, this is not where you want to be longing. Even if you win today, you will lose. Okay? I promise you. Okay? So you need to be patient and ask yourself, what would be a good entry for a different trade? Forget the long, okay? Or if you do have a long thesis still, let's just stick with that. Ask yourself, how often does the market just rip straight higher, right? After doing a massive up candle, just do another massive up candle. Probably going to consolidate, right? At least form a flag. I mean, heck, that's what it did right here. So please, because it's like I could smell it right now. Somebody's just setting themselves up to get absolutely smoked. Now, for the rest of the day, we have this big move here. I could see us pinning higher. I could see a slow grind up into this area here, probably front running this price at 23,340. Okay, and it like losing steam a little bit, or we could pop up to this previous measure move, 23,421. I could also see, right, because we have this huge imbalance, us coming down and closing the day down here at 23,064. Personally, my plan for the day, just like every day, I sound like a broken record, which hopefully you guys learned something from this. I approach most days the same. There's a bob and weave to the market. We had our bob in the morning. Settlement open, boom, follows my weekly plan. I captured the first magnitude out of settlement open. It's 10:34. Is the market going to do some crazy move midday? Probably not. Maybe it does. Don't care. Okay. I captured 99% of this move. What I'm curious about is how's the day going to end? So around 2:30. I honestly don't give a shit what happens here. Around 2:30, I'm going to look at the market and go, is there another RTH trade to take that is high quality? Okay. And that's what I'm going to do. So there's a few possibilities here midday. They're mostly irrelevant outside of me understanding where the most likely volume is going to build. If we move away from a mean in the market, then I'll look for a mean reversion trade at the end of the day, or I'll do nothing. Okay, it is Monday though. There's no data today. Okay, tomorrow we have ISM services at 10 and unemployment claims on the 7th. Yeah, that's it really. So a lot of good questions today. Good job, guys. Keep those coming. This is way more fun when you guys are interactive. Appreciate it. Thanks, Forrest. Probably done for the day, at least for a while. Yep, love that. Quad is another member of our community, by the way. Another reason to join if you want to see how somebody who's consistent gets it done. He trades generally low leverage, just a handful of M and Q, and makes hundreds of dollars most days. Obviously, he loses money like everybody else, but he's the one of most consistent traders I've ever met on the internet, and certainly makes more money than most people, which is good. Now, also proof that traders come in all shapes and sizes, right? I'm a 34-year-old black dude living in Miami. Quad is, I think you're in your 50s. Don't have to dox you, but he's in his 50s, retired, he's hanging out, and he trades just for additional income, right? So everybody can do it. You don't have any excuses. Maybe you do have an excuse, but get over it and start doing the right things to be successful. Today's dedicated to back testing. Love that. Quad's almost 70. Love that. Quad's almost 70, guys, out here making money every single day. Dedicated, hanging out in the Discord. Truly blessed to know you, man. Honestly. Truly, truly blessed to know you, man. Even just virtually. Through no other way could I've met you than through our common love of trading. Usually just looks for 50 points a day. It's great. Thank you, man. Missed a long practicing patience for the next opportunity. Awesome, Paulo. Another one's gonna come, man. And here, there's another reason why you guys need to wait. It's probably not going to be that long before we have another big trade. We're probably talking like, a day or something. So please don't get blown up in a few minutes. Keep your eye on the VIX as well. If the VIX craters, continues to crater, that would be the sign that this thing is going to, launch higher. But I would say, 421 is probably the maximum for the day. I'm going to keep my 400 and keep it moving. When we'll get word on the live event, trying to make that for sure. November. It'll be in November, like 14th-ish. Let me look at the dates here. I need to reach out to a few people. Yeah, probably November, the week of the 10th, if you want to put that in your calendar. Doing my first in-person trading event. I'm trying to plan that. I'm literally going to speak with my GC today, hopefully, to get an ETA on everything being finished. They've started, like, all the drywall's up. They started mudding. Got to pay that guy another 15 G's. Building a building is very expensive, guys. Believe it or not. But yeah, that's it. I appreciate all of y'all. Stay positive. Okay. All of your dreams, all of your goals are on the other side of probably just a little bit of elbow grease. They're not nearly as insurmountable as you think. You probably just need to think hard, work hard, get some coffee for maybe like 3 or 4 hours a few times a week. And you'll be surprised at how fast you actually develop when you put in those handful of hours. But they've got to be dedicated. They have to be intentional, right? You can't show up haphazardly, right? Show up for the person and the version of yourself that you know you can be. Okay. A version of yourself that you think about at night, 1 a.m. when you can't sleep. It's right there on the other side, a little bit of elbow grease. My name is Forrest. I invest in stuff. I'm a day trader. I know you can do it too. See you guys in the next one.